What's going on? Welcome back to Trending Stocks. Today is February the 5th. I want to give you a quick pre-market update, go over some of the hot movers and what big money is doing today. Before we get into any of that, make sure you guys hit that thumbs up. And with that, let's get right to it. So starting off with data points, ADP just came out. Came in a little bit higher than anticipated, so 183 versus 120. And that, in among itself, is kind of prompting a pullback. And I know we've been really wanting negative data, as I've stated, but you wanted negative data slightly, but not overly bad, and this is overly bad. So the market's kind of pulling back as a byproduct of that, as you can kind of see. So NASDAQ is down 0.61, S&P down 0.31, and Dow is down 0.09. So not necessarily the best, and I think even generally going into today, people were worried about companies unveiling their earnings. And then oddly enough, I'm not really understand the basis of it, but Trump mentioned that he is going to go and kind of rectify the Gaza Strip and rebuild it. And I don't know, I feel like the market, from what I've seen, is just seeing that as very unnecessary, and potentially problematic down the line. So I think that there's just a lot of grayness associated to that. But as of right now, fear and greed index is moving towards the fear category. So I think that's correct. I don't know if this is appropriate, if it should be under fear or extreme fear right now, but nonetheless, it is what it is. Aside from all of that, though, Sofi is down 0.52. No news, no SEC filings, so it's piggybacking off of the broader market. Technicals aren't looking all that great. Yesterday, you did have a short return, and over the last 2 weeks, you actually haven't really seen shorts do all that much. So 12.26% of the free floats being shorted works out to be 131.99 million shares. So we've had some negative data. I'm not really sure. Shorts haven't pounced on that, so maybe they are legitimately waiting for something to really increase or just be the dagger to return. I'm not really sure what they're up to as of right now, but with it at 1521 pre-market, it is trading between this S1 and this S2. So 1532 is going to be the next strong kind of target / resistance point. 1491 is going to be the next strong support. So as I've mentioned in my dedicated video to Sofi yesterday, I think it's just the market is rather bored. It's markets valuing innovation, and Sofi, it's solid. Sofi definitely is a solid fundamental business, but you're not really seeing much innovation coming from it. So I think that's one thing why big money's not really paying attention to it, but that's just my opinion. But moving on, AMD is they did have their earnings. Their actual metrics came in line, but there was just a lot of fear. And I think the underlying tone is the fact that NVIDIA is still the #1 contender. So AMD isn't really a big competition to it. So that's kind of what's spooking the market a little bit. So that's down quite a lot, down 9.76%. And honestly, I think that this earnings had very high expectations, both from Wall Street as well as shorts, because I like to analyze this information, and shorts oddly did return going into their earnings, meaning they felt that it was going to be good. And so that, I think it honestly surprised everyone. 3.45% of the free floats being shorted works out to be 55.57 million shares. It is somewhat heavily shorted for a large cap stock such as AMD. So it's not a squeeze play, just get that out of your minds already, but it's 3.45% is rather high, so something to kind of keep in mind. With it at 108 and change, it is trading between this S2 and this S3. 108.47 is going to be that next strong target / resistance point, and then 101 is going to be that strong support. So AMD definitely does need to close above this S2 today. If not, you're going to see a very further breakdown over the next couple trading days. So just watch for that today. Moving on, Uber, pretty much actually a lot of stocks I'm going to be talking on is moving from their earnings. So Uber did miss, down 5.43%. Shorts, same goes for that. They were kind of flat, so maybe they were just unsure about obviously Uber. Even on my Patreon, I go over my expectations for the companies unveiling their earnings. And even in Uber's case, I did say that it was going to be either mixed / flat. So I don't think that there was a lot of people under the impression that Uber was going to beat on their earnings. So same goes for shorts. You can kind of tell by them just staying flat. They were obviously in the same mentality as myself, but still not a squeeze play. 2.83% of the free floats being shorted, works out to be 59.43 million shares. With it at 65 and change, it is trading right below this point, this pivot. So 65.95 will be that key one to really get above, and then 62.75 will be the following support, followed by $60. So yeah, let me know your viewpoint. I don't see it being above this R1. It might recover and kind of start trading between this R1 and the pivot today. So if you're a day trader, take advantage and do what you need to do, but I don't see it being green or getting above the 69 today. Moving on, you have Reborn Coffee. So this one is and has been a very interesting squeeze play. And the funny thing is, I think the reason why it's been going up is because there's been a clear sign of naked shorting. So my last two videos where I go over the top 5 squeeze stocks in the market, this was number 1, and then the last report, it was number 4, I do believe I put it as, and it's been a beast. So over the last 1 month, it is up 153%. And the funny thing is, this is the very first time, so there hasn't been any news since January the 23rd on an FYI, but this is the very first time that you've seen that this has been fixed. So shares on loan, 660,000, and then you have this being number of shares being shorted, 613. So finally, that has normalized. In the past, the number of shares being shorted was significantly higher than the shares on loan, meaning that there was some naked shorting happening. But honestly, shorts, despite it going up as much as it has been, shorts have been very reactive to it. So yeah, they are really trying to suppress it. Hasn't really worked out all that well for them, but 29.63% of the free floats being shorted. Utilization is 78.53. So anticipate shorts to be very active in the next couple trading days, with it at $4.56, trading between this R1 and the pivot. So 330 is going to be the next strong support. 490 is going to be the next strong target / resistance point, followed by 590. That's if it does gain some pretty good traction. And then last but not least, Google, another earnings miss, so down 7.14%. And honestly, not really much to say. I think it was anticipated that this was going to be a miss. You have shorts just being flat, 0.39% of the free float, so still not a squeeze play. Key points to watch for though, with it at 192, it is trading between this S1 and this S2, so 189 will be that next strong support, and then 193 is going to be that next strong target / resistance point. And then yeah, above that you have 200, but I don't see 200 being touched. Most likely it'll trade between this pivot and this S1 today, but it'll be more towards the S1, gravitating towards that price point. I don't see much happening with Google today, but that's just my viewpoint. You do whatever floats your boat. Let me know your thoughts on all of that. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. I always greatly appreciate that. One final thing, pop over to my Patreon and give buy signals on stocks, options, and crypto. Many of them have been absolutely on point, so definitely worthwhile to pop over there and take a look. With all that, appreciate all of you watching though.